Hey, this is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR podcast. To upstate New York, NASCAR would go for a jam-packed weekend of good old-fashioned road course racing on the lefts and rights of Watkins Glen. ARCA, trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series would all be in action. Storylines going into the weekend, starting with ARCA. Can Butterbean Queen bring the speed to the Glen? After slip-ups on the first road course at Lime Rock, Elon and Brent are also ready to take the trophy. Truck Series, a lot of musical chairs going on in this one. With the sudden departure of Kaden Honeycutt from Niece Motorsports, Connor Zilisch will fill in his seat as Honeycutt will drive one of the Young's Motorsports entries. Xfinity, with SVG and Connor Zilisch going at it the last two road course races in Xfinity. Who will come out on top this time? Cup Series, with 3 races remaining before the playoffs, including the Glen. Many have a lot on the line. Will SVG continue his road course dominance, or could he be stopped? So much action to unfold, and some was very unexpected. Interview with Truck Series driver Matt Gould, discussions with Dave, yellow flag, green flag, Fast Davies bets, predictions for the Springfield Mile, and of course, Richmond, and so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Please check that out for special coverage from Richmond as we continue our associate sponsorship with Mike Harmon Racing. Our sticker will be on the 74 truck, driven this time in Richmond by Caleb Coster. Go get him, Caleb. Now for the ARCA Series recap from Watkins Glen. ARCA would be in action and get it going first on Friday afternoon at the Glen. After qualifying, Brent would be on the pole, followed by Elon making up the front row. Cruz would hop out to the lead early, followed by Day. An issue on the first lap for Butterbean Queen as the points leader slows early. Lawless Allen is able to get up to the second spot past his teammate in Day, who has to pit due to power issues. But Lawless Allen pits with a mechanical issue laps later. Yellow comes out for Shane Backus on lap 19 as he spins. With close to halfway, the field would pit for a controlled stop. On the following restart, Brent would again go to the lead. Tristan McKee and Tyler Reif battle for the second spot. Yellow would fly with 7 laps to go as Jason Kitzmiller goes into the tire barrier. Then heartbreak for Cruz. After leading all those laps, under the yellow, his car would come to a stop with an electrical voltage issue. The field restarts with 1 lap to go. 15-year-old Tristan McKee in the 77 Spire ARCA car would start next to the 23 of Tyler Reif. McKee would bounce off the wall but take the lead as he goes smoking into the first couple of turns. His tires would be able to hold on, and the 15-year-old McKee would go on to win the ARCA race at the Glen. Reif and Chris Wright follow. Congratulations to Tristan and his team. Now, trivia question time. This week's episode is, what Hall of Fame driver holds the record for most Cup Series wins at Watkins Glen? Answer at the end. Now for the Truck Series recap. After winning the pole in the afternoon, Corey Heim would be on the front row along with Christopher Bell in the 52 truck, as he is the second fastest. Once the race went green, Heim would get the lead, followed by Bell. Andres Perez de Laura is able to get the third spot. First yellow would fly on lap 12 for a stopped William Lambros. Kyle Busch's day would end early as he comes to the garage with a broken steering box. Under the yellow, everyone would pit besides Gio Ruggiero and Ben Rhodes. We restart with 6 laps to go in the first stage. Rhodes gets the lead as Heim follows. It wouldn't last long on Ben Rhodes and Ruggiero as they start to fade on the older tires. Corey Heim gets back to the lead, followed by Ross Chastain and Christopher Bell. Heim cruises to the Stage 1 win. Him alongside Chastain start up front for Stage 2. Ross would get the lead for a lap, but after battling side by side with Heim, again Corey would take the front spot. With 9 to go in the second stage, the yellow would fly as Jack Wood goes hard into the guardrail. After staying out after most pit, Daniel Hemrick and Sammy Smith start up front, followed by Ben Rhodes and Jake Garcia. They come to green with 1 lap to go in Stage 2. After a smooth move, Ben Rhodes goes to the front spot and wins the second stage. Sammy Smith follows in the P2 spot. Christopher Bell and Tyler Ankrum restart up front for the third and final stage. Bell gets the jump and leads. Andres Perez de Laura is able to work his way up to second. As the laps of the stage tick away, Bell's crew chief tells him he is low on fuel and to save fuel as he continues the lead. With 13 to go, the 5th caution of the day flies as Tony Breitdinger's truck catches on fire. Bell and Perez de Laura restart with 9 to go, with Bell going to the lead. A lap later, another yellow flies as Taylor Gray goes hard into the wall after contact with Ty Majeski. 5 to go, Bell and Perez restart with William Sawallich and Heim behind them on the second row. But in turn 6, cautions breed cautions. Yellow would fly once again as Ben Rhodes loses a tire. This would send the race into overtime. On the first overtime restart, Bell and Heim would be leading. Will Bell have enough fuel? Heim would take control, but a spinning Perez would put the race into a second overtime. During the yellow, Christopher Bell reports he is out of gas and needs the pit. Heim and Daniel Hemrick restart for the second overtime. Heim again out to the front spot, but again another yellow. Connor Mozak spins in the bus stop, collecting Grant Infinger and Jake Garcia. For the third overtime restart, Heim and Hemrick take the field to green. Like the 2 previous restarts, Heim again out to the front spot. Finally, 2 green laps completed. Corey Heim wins in New York, followed by Daniel Hemrick and Gio Ruggiero. Now for the Xfinity recap. After qualifying, Connor Zilisch would win the pole, followed by Shane Van Gisbergen, making up the front row. Once the green flag dropped, Zilisch would get to the point and lead. Van Gisbergen would be hot on his tails though. Sam Mayer and Taylor Gray follow. 2 laps later, Gray would complete the pass on Mayer. Then a lap later, Ryan Sieg and Josh Bilicki go spinning, bringing out the first yellow of the day. Zilisch and SVG restart. They remain side by side until Connor takes the lead in the S's. William Sawallich would get past Van Gisbergen in the bus stop for second, but a lap later, SVG would make the spot back up. With 3 to go in the first stage, as expected on road courses, many start the pit. To flip the stage, SVG and Sawallich pit from second and third. With the others, a lap later, the leader, Zilisch, pits himself, handing the lead over to his teammate, Justin Allgaier, who goes on to win the first stage, followed by Taylor Gray and Sheldon Creed. Zilisch and Van Gisbergen start up front for the second stage. On the restart, Zilisch would get the jump as Sam Mayer and William Sawallich get past SVG for second and third as Shane sits in fourth. Shane would eventually get past Mayer and then up to second When Zilisch would pit at the end of the stage, the second stage stays green and is won by Connor Zilisch, followed by Shane. What would the third stage bring? Zilisch again gets the lead as SVG settles in second. Yellow would fly 7 laps into the third stage as Sheldon Creed goes spinning. Most would pit under the yellow. Cars that would stay out include Parker Retzlaff, Jesse Love, and Van Gisbergen. Retzlaff and Love restart up front with Shane on the second row. By lap 60, after restarting 9th, Connor Zilisch would be up to second. After 4 hard laps of battling for the lead, Van Gisbergen would have a slight advantage coming out of the S's, but Zilisch would be there as well, sending SVG into the guardrail, ending his day. Shane Van Gisbergen is out of the race on lap 65. Was not expecting that. Zilisch and Austin Hill on the following restart, and Hill being Hill gives Zilisch a bump on the restart, sending Connor all the way back to 5th as Austin leads. But they wouldn't make it a lap as the yellow would fly for debris. Under the yellow, Zilisch taps the bumper of Hill in displeasure. Hill and Michael McDowell restart. As they battle, Zilisch is able to get past both of them on lap 73. McDowell and Hill continue to go at it. On turn 5, Hill makes a bad move. I could use other words, but he turns McDowell, sending him pinballing into the fence in a vicious crash, hitting 3 different guardrails. This would collect 17 cars in total, making Watkins Glen look like a super speedway crash. The wreck was so big that the red flag had to come out for 45 minutes, as crews would make repairs to the wall and guardrails. Luckily, McDowell and all involved walked away fine. They restart with 3 laps to go. Zilisch and teammate Sammy Smith restart up front with Austin Hill on the second row behind Zilisch. Connor would jump out to the lead by over a second and a half with 2 to go. Sam Mayer gets to the second position. The race would stay green and be won by Connor Zilisch. Sam Mayer and Sammy Smith finish behind him. Then, in victory lane, getting out of his car to celebrate, the unthinkable would happen. Connor Zilisch would get his leg stuck and fall out of the car, shoulder and head first, hitting very hard, and Zilisch would lay motionless as the cameras would pan away. Thankfully, Connor would only suffer a broken collarbone. Crazy way to end the day. More on this in discussions with Dave. Now for the Cup Series recap. Cup Series would be ready for the big show on Sunday. In a surprising qualifying session on Saturday, Ryan Blaney would win the pole, followed by Van Gisbergen. Blaney and Shane battle early. SVG is unsuccessful as Blaney continues to lead. Early issues for Kyle Larson as he spins on lap 6. The race would stay green though. 12 laps in, Blaney would have over a second lead on Van Gisbergen. 3 laps later, Ty Gibbs and Daniel Suarez would start the pit cycle for the end of the first stage. Blaney and SVG pit from second and first on lap 18. Chris Buescher goes on to win the first stage, followed by Alex Bowman and Ryan Preece. Buescher and Preece restart up front for the second stage. Preece would get the jump and lead. Buescher to second as Blaney and SVG battle for third. Shane will get the jump and clear Blaney for the third position. Laps later, Shane will get past both Buescher and Preece and take the lead. First yellow for incident would fly on lap 29 as Josh Berry goes spinning a lap before, sending debris on the track. Van Gisbergen and Blaney restart with 9 to go in the second stage. SVG would get the jump and lead. 5 laps later, he would pit from the lead. Many others would follow. Blaney decides to stay out and wins stage 2. Ryan Blaney and William Byron restart up front for the third and final stage at the Glen. Blaney gets the jump and leads once again, as the field goes 3 wide behind him in turn 1. After starting 12th, Van Gisbergen would get past Ryan Blaney with 37 laps to go. Could anyone catch Shane? 28 laps to go, Van Gisbergen would pit among many others, handing the lead to Chase Briscoe. After the pit cycle would be completed on lap 73, when Brad Keselowski would pit, SVG would regain the lead. 10 laps to go, Shane has a healthy 3-second lead on Chris Buescher in second. Could Shane be caught? On the final lap, Christopher Bell would get past Buescher for the second spot. By then, Van Gisbergen would have over a 10-second lead. Shane would go on to win. Such domination by Shane Van Gisbergen, his 4th consecutive road win this season. Truly a feat. Quick look back at the predictions we made. ARCA went with Brent Cruz. A tough day. He finishes 9th. Trucks went with Zilisch. He finishes 8th. Xfinity tapped Connor Zilisch. He takes it home, getting the win. Cup Series went with SVG. He finishes 1st, getting his 4th win of the season. Now for yellow flag, green flag. ARCA, green flag. Gotta give it to Tristan McKee. The young 15-year-old driver making his ARCA Series debut grabs the win. Truck Series, yellow flag. Tough day for Kyle Busch in the trucks. He finishes at the tail end of the field in the 36th position. Trucks, green flag. Rookie Gio Ruggiero gets a top 3 on the lefts and rights of the Glen. Xfinity, yellow flag. Austin Hill. A bad time move on McDowell towards the end of the race results in a wicked crash for McDowell and also collects 17 others. Xfinity, green flag. That Connor Zilisch fall wasn't any worse than it was. Hope he's recovering. Can't wait to see him back in the car, hopefully soon. Cup Series, yellow. Ty Gibbs, rough day for him. He was battling his car all day and brings it home 33rd. Cup Series, green. SVG, 4th win of the season. Was the first time his dad was on track in person. To see him win, rugby balls would be punted in upstate New York. Now for discussions with Dave. First topic, the fall heard around the world. Just as we mentioned, at the end of the Xfinity race, after doing a burnout around the track, Connor Zilisch would bring his 88 Junior Motorsports Xfinity car to victory lane. Getting out of the car as usual, the driver climbs up and stands on the roof. Connor went to do the same. When he went to turn, unfortunately, one of his legs gets stuck and he falls, hitting the ground brutally hard, and he will lay there motionless. It was very scary. Thankfully, medical staff was there and did their best. They put him on a backboard and stretcher just to be safe. They bring him to the hospital. They check him out. Luckily, CAT scans and everything else was negative, but he did break his collarbone. Over the week, Zilisch did have a plate put in his shoulder to help the collarbone heal. Hopefully, we see Connor in the Xfinity car in Daytona. Second topic of discussions with Dave, Shane Van Gisbergen's impact. It was announced during the week that Van Gisbergen would sign a long-term deal with Trackhouse, staying until he turns 38, continuing the title hunt. We talked a couple episodes ago, there was some rumors that Shane after this season didn't have a contract for next year's, and with his wins in Mexico City, Chicago, it was obvious that he was definitely going to have a ride with Trackhouse, or if a crazy scenario happened, someone else would of course sign him, but Trackhouse signs him long term. And the next question is, with 22 playoff points, how far can Shane Van Gisbergen go? I said about a month ago, I think he can get into the round of 8. I think with that cushion of playoff points, right now he is second in the playoff standings. I think he can get through the round of 16. And in the round of 12, the last race is the road course at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Roval. You don't want to wait until the last race of a round to, put it in the drive and lock yourself in. Maybe Shane, pulls something, a rabbit out of the hat and gets a solid top 3, top 5 on an oval. He's getting there gradually. Not sure if that will happen this season, but if Van Gisbergen gets a win at the Charlotte Roval, that locks him into the round of 8. I don't think he can get into the round of 4, at least not this season. Shane Van Gisbergen, with the way he is racing, of course, he's going to be a championship contender. If you're that good on the road courses, he's a skilled driver in general, and his oval stuff is getting better. Well, we will monitor that. Really excited to see what the playoffs bring for Shane. Next topic on discussions with Dave. More silly season news. Midway through the Truck Series was announced this week. Andres Perez de Laura will be leaving Spire Motorsports in the Truck Series. Spire Motorsports President Bill Anthony on the release of Andres Perez de Laura in an official statement. Andres has made meaningful progress this season, and we remain confident in his future. While we haven't finalized our 2026 plans for the number 77 team, we wanted to give him the opportunity to look ahead and pursue other options for the remainder of this year and beyond. He's a hard worker, carries himself with humility, and brings consistency, positive attitude to the garage. He comes from a great family, and we fully expect him to continue making strides as part of Chevrolet's Drivers Development Program. We're proud to have been part of his journey and will continue cheering him on. Was not expecting this news at all. As we just talked about in the truck recap, Andres Perez de Laura drove his butt off in Watkins Glen. Was talking to him, had him on the show when we were at Lime Rock. He really seemed focused and very locked in. Was announced a day later that Perez de Laura will join Niece Motorsports for the remainder of the 2025 season, driving the 44 truck. Spire Motorsports then announced that Corey LaJoie will pilot the truck that Perez de Laura was in for the remainder of the season. Last topic on discussions with Dave. I have not talked about this season at all, but there has been more and more complaints from Cup Series drivers about the next-gen car. Denny Hamlin was quoted saying this week, "We have a fundamental car problem. Everyone that has ever driven it said it's a problem. I believe the next-gen car is reaching hate levels." Obviously, can see at one end of the spectrum of what Hamlin is saying, and people have complained more and more of it, but now this seems to be coming to the surface. We'll have to monitor this and see if NASCAR does and make any changes. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Probably ride out this package for the remainder of this season. Do they make any tweaks, modifications to the next-gen car for 2026? We will be waiting to find that out. That wraps up this week's edition of Discussions with Dave. Now, Truck Series standings heading into the final regular season race of the season at Richmond. A lot on the line, and here are our predictions for the playoffs. So, as we sit, there's been 6 different full-time truck drivers that have won a race this year. Corey Heim, Lane Riggs, Chandler Smith, Daniel Hemrick, Tyler Ankrum, and Raja Carruth. Stuart Friesen did get a win in the 52. Unfortunately, with the injuries he received in the Dirt Modified, he will be taken out of the playoffs. So then on points, the top driver based on points is Grant Enfinger, plus 91 in the 7th spot. Ty Majeski, plus 84. Kaden Honeycutt, plus 65. And Jake Garcia, right now, on the right side looking in the 10th and final spot, plus 11. Garcia's teammate, Ben Rhodes, in the 11th spot, on the outside looking in, currently, minus 11. Gio Ruggiero, minus 21. Tanner Gray, minus 69. As mentioned, so much on the line for Richmond. The only spot that realistically, mathematically wise, is up for grabs is that 10th and final spot, which Jake Garcia currently holds. Ben Rhodes, the two-time champ, is right behind him. Those two are Thor Sport teammates. In the end, I believe that Rhodes is going to get that last playoff spot. I feel like he might not get the win in Richmond. I don't think he will, but a top 5 day, I believe, is in his future. And if Garcia has issues, Rhodes will take advantage of that. On the other hand, we've seen what Jake Garcia can do in a late model car on a short track. Does that transfer into success at Richmond on Friday night? We'll find out. In the end, I think Rhodes will get that 10th and final playoff spot for the Truck Series. Now, Cup Series standings look out. Richmond is the second to last race of the 2025 regular season for the NASCAR Cup Series. As we sit, there's been 13 different full-time drivers to win a race this year. The drivers on the right side of the bubble, as NASCAR Cup Series takes 16 drivers into the playoffs. 14th, Tyler Reddick, plus 117. Alex Bowman, plus 60. Chris Buescher, plus 34. On the outside looking in, Ryan Preece, minus 34. Kyle Busch, minus 101. Ty Gibbs, minus 125. Bowman in the 15th spot right now would need a lot to go wrong in the two races to get jumped in the standings. I think he is safe. Chris Buescher, plus 34. I think it's going to be a dogfight between Buescher and his teammate Ryan Preece for that final playoff spot. One of them could grab a win in Richmond, or one of them could even grab a win in Daytona. That's probably more of a feasible option, but a good top 10 day could happen for either driver. Maybe both get in the top 10. Who knows? Right now, Buescher plus 34. I think he adds to that point cushion for Richmond and is looking maybe 40, 45 points on the plus side to Preece going into Daytona. We will see how things shake out after Richmond on Saturday night. Now for NASCAR history time, Richmond Raceway. The .75 mile short track that's been a staple on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule since 1955 has seen its fair share of unforgettable moments. Let's take a moment to go through some of those through time. September 9th, 1973. The King, Richard Petty, reigns again. Petty scores his 7th straight win at Richmond, a streak that began in the fall of 1970. He'd go on to claim a record 13 victories at Richmond, more than any other driver in history. February 26, 84, just a week after a wild flip in the Daytona 500 qualifying race, and literally taping his eyelids open for the 500, Ricky Rudd bounces back and takes the win in his home state of Virginia. Ricky Rudd, tough as nails. February 23rd, 1986, chaos with 2 to go. Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt get together, opening the door for Kyle Petty to grab his first career Cup win. Right place, right time, and Kyle Petty made it count at a place his dad was very successful at. February 21st, 1988, Neil Bonnet takes the checkered flag for his 17th and final time of his career, winning the last race ever run on Richmond's old half-mile layout, a design that dated all the way back to 1946. April 27th, 2012, In the Xfinity Series, Kurt Busch muscles his way to victory, fending off Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick to give Kyle Busch Motorsports its first ever win in the Xfinity Series. Now for our interview with Truck Series driver Matt Gould. Next guest we bring on to Splash of Gas is driver for Niece Motorsports, the Truck Series, Matt Gould. Thanks for joining, Matt.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Before we get into this season, you've been brought up in a racing family and started racing at a young age at Millbridge, eventually getting into the late model ranks, where you've had some success. How do you believe that has helped your racecraft growing up?
A ton, growing up at the dirt track at Millbridge, just learning car control, throttle control, on the dirt with those high-powered karts, there's short wheelbase in them things with a lot of power, so yeah, just learning how to race out there, eventually jumping into the late model stuff, bigger car, more power, a lot more to deal with. And, racing around, these rough, short tracks around the Carolinas and the Virginia area has helped a ton. You get to race against really good guys, at difficult tracks. So, I'd say that, the late model stuff has helped, an exponential amount to my career and my racecraft.
Sweet. That kind of goes right into the next question. Spoke to you at the South Carolina 400 this past year. How do you think racing in those big late model events has been for your development?
It's fun for sure. It's hard the way that my dad and I do it. On the lower budget side, taking an older car, just a couple of us guys to go to the track, and a lot of guys will be there all week testing, and we'll show up on a Friday and test for a couple hours and go straight to the race day. But we've had some success. We made the South Carolina 400 last year with no breaks in qualifying, so that's a good accomplishment for what we are and what we're trying to do. But, it's definitely fun getting to race against those guys.
Yeah, appreciate you touching on those details. Remember, you had to get a fast qualifying time there to even make the show. You've been working at Niche for some time right now, helping with your dad's truck and others in the shop. How do you make your first truck start last year at the Milwaukee Mile? How was that experience?
It was awesome. I wish it would have gone a little bit better. We had some mechanical issues in the race that restricted fuel flow to the injectors, so brought us down on power. But it was an awesome experience. Right from the start. Al Niece came up with this crazy idea that I was gonna first drive an ARCA car, and then eventually get into a truck, and just getting to put the truck together with my crew and setting it up with my dad, and then going to the racetrack, and honestly struggled. Got to practice, just try to get comfortable. I didn't know the grip level in qualifying, so didn't get the most out of it in qualifying, and qualified in the back. But got to about 30 laps into the first stage and was still running good. I think we're almost into the top 20, and actually got lapped, and then got behind the leaders and started to figure it out. And I was actually just as fast as the leaders, and was running them down, running other people down, and that's when we started having our issues. So it was an incredible experience regardless. Just so thankful to Al Niece and Cody Efaw and everybody at Niece Motorsports, Chevy for giving me the opportunity to run one race, and then eventually turning into more.
Yeah, of course. It sounds like it was some great experience for you as well. In racing, you can go to tracks where you have little previous seat time. When you have a track like that on the schedule, specifically Milwaukee, how do you prepare for that as a driver?
It's hard. Milwaukee was one of those places where there's no SMT, so it's really hard to study where people are lifting, where people are braking, where people are just their racing line in general. All you had to do was go off of last year's race and watch it. I did get a little bit of sim time through Chevy, which did help, but it's so different when you get to the racetrack and try to figure it out. It doesn't simulate everything. It simulates most things, but not everything. So yeah, it was difficult to prepare for Milwaukee, but I did feel well prepared going into the weekend. Um, but of course, like when you get in the truck and you get out there, like you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. But I felt like I had prepared um, as much as I could for the race.
Okay, cool. I appreciate you touching on that. I mean, when you get in the truck, start feeling some of those bumps and lines. Just like you said, you made your first start this year in Martinsville. You finished 23rd, which is your best finish so far in the truck series. I know it's been several months removed. How did you feel leaving Martinsville, and how's that going to bring momentum into this weekend?
Actually, I felt really good leaving Martinsville. I know the finish isn't great, but we were actually running ninth when we got caught up in a wreck at the end there. There was about 30 laps to go. So yeah, I felt really good leaving Martinsville. I felt like we were good in practice. I overdrove in qualifying, so qualified like about mid pack, but and raced around there. Made my way up to the top 15. And then, we played a little bit of strategy to get inside the top 10. We was holding our own and then got caught up in that wreck and still finished the race amazingly. That truck was destroyed, actually, after that contact. So, I felt really good. It was good for my confidence to go and run well with those guys. So, it's been a little bit since I've got to race the truck. But, I from the minute we left Martinsville to actually right now, I've been preparing for this race at Richmond. So I feel really good going into this weekend.
Cool. Awesome. Appreciate you touching on Martinsville. Each of your truck series starts, you've gotten a better finish than the previous race. Have you been able to find some consistency throughout the longer races in the truck series?
Well, you're getting more comfortable, of course. Like you're getting more comfortable, number one, gain more experience, number two. You're out there, you know what you're doing. Like I said earlier, I got to Milwaukee. I had no clue what I was doing. I was just out there holding the steering wheel and trying to figure it out.
Gotcha.
And now going into Richmond, I feel like I have a lot better of an idea of what I need, what the truck needs, and I've never raced a truck on a surface like this that wears tires out like Richmond does. So that will be a small learning curve, but luckily I can fall back on my late model experience. Racing at rough, worn out short tracks and managing tires and brakes. So,
Seems like it should be a good combination. You've been working on the truck for Richmond. I mean, how's your truck looking and feeling so far?
It's actually a newer truck. It's it's the newest truck that I've personally get to drive at Niece. So that makes me feel
cool.
good for sure. This is actually the same truck that Carson Hocevar won Texas with a couple of years ago. It was built new for 2022. It only has a handful of races on it. It turned into a backup truck, and they brought it back out for me. So, putting the truck together with my crew chief, my truck chief, and our shop foreman, it's been a lot of fun. I really haven't played a huge role in putting the truck together, and not as much of a role as I'd like to. By my role on the 45 team, making sure I'm there for them, and then making sure they're all good, ready to go to the racetrack, and then jumping over to my stuff. But there's countless amount of hours put into that truck, over the last couple of weeks, and I feel really good about it.
Awesome. Seems like you have a rocket ship for Friday night. Last question. Any goals and expectations for Richmond tomorrow?
I think a realistic goal is a top 15, just something to build off, honestly. My first three starts, something's happened that prohibited us from finishing better or where we should have. So I feel like, if we just run where the truck is capable of, I think is a good goal. And I put a top 15 out there, it's just a solid run. And I feel like it's an attainable goal for me and our team.
Okay, cool. Really appreciate the honesty and your time, Matt. We'll be watching from New Jersey on Friday night, and best of luck. Hope to talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you. See you, man.
See you. Thank you.
What a great conversation with Matt Gould. Really appreciate his time. Now, drivers to look out Friday night, Richmond trucks. Drivers on the bubble will be getting ready to put it all on the line as it's the last race of the regular season. Let's start with last year's champ and short track showout, Ty Majeski. Even though he has an 84-point cushion, he should be a contender up front. Daniel Hemrick won in Martinsville. Can he get a solid finish and have momentum into the playoffs? Both Front Row Motorsports trucks of Lane Riggs and Chandler Smith should be up front. Corey Heim has been long locked into the playoffs. What will the points leader be able to do in Richmond? Of all the drivers that are on the outside looking in that need a win, I think Ben Rhodes will be showing out. Now, drivers to look out for the Springfield ARCA 100 at the Illinois State Fairgrounds. ARCA will be in action for the first dirt race of the season at the mile dirt track of the Illinois State Fairgrounds. Drivers to look out for: Max Reeves will be in the Joe Gibbs 18 car. He should be quick. Sam Corey hopping in the 25 for Venturini Motorsports. Look out for Sam. Brandon Butterbean Queen. We know him as a paved short track ace. What can he do on the dirt? Isabella Robusto in the 55. She, as we had her on the show a couple weeks ago, she drives a mix of cars and she's solid in those late models on the short tracks. Think when she gets that dirt and she moves around a little bit, I think she'll pick it up quick. Can she get another top 5? Maybe contend at the end? We'll see. Last but not least, Brent Cruz will be in the 70 Nitro Motorsports car. He should be a contender as well. Now, drivers to look out for: Cup Series race in Richmond. Start off with a driver that won in Richmond last year, and I think he'll pick right up and be up front, Denny Hamlin. Joey Logano was right behind Hamlin last year, and Logano has been dominant with wins in Richmond in the past. Can Logano get up front? Believe Hendrick Motorsports car William Byron will be quick on this one. Look out for Willie B. And don't forget RFK drivers of Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski. Ryan Preece is going to need a good finish on this one too if he wants to make it into the playoffs. But I think Keselowski and Buescher will be contending top 10s, maybe even top 5s. One of them can crack from the RFK stable. Last but not least, don't count out Noah Gragson. He was 12th in Richmond last year. Can he get into the top 10? I believe he has a good chance. Now for Fast Avies bets. Truck Series, Ben Rhodes top 5 is plus 500. Raja Karuth for the same is plus 400. I'd hit the Ben Rhodes top 5 plus 500 all day. I think he can even get in the top 3. Cup Series, we just were mentioning Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson for a top 10 is plus 700. Like we mentioned, he was 12th last year. Josh Berry is plus 500 for a top 5. Another good one as well. Now for trivia answer time. This week's question is: what Hall of Fame driver holds the record for most Cup Series wins at Watkins Glen? Answer is Smoke Tony Stewart, winning at the Glen a record 5 times throughout his career. Now for the predictions for the Illinois State Fairgrounds and Richmond. ARCA heads to the 1 mile dirt track out in Illinois. Give me Max Reeves getting the job done. Truck Series, Ty Majeski. Think he puts it in victory lane on Friday night. Cup Series, I believe Denny Hamlin picks right up where he left off last year at Richmond and gets the win. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at disneydavew@verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Please check that out for updates from the 74 truck driven by Caleb Koster. We are associate sponsor on the truck for Richmond. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weicker. That brings us to the end of this week's episode. Appreciate each and every one listening. Hope you got some time to watch the racing from the dirt 1 mile track at the Illinois State Fairgrounds for ARCA, and of course, NASCAR Cup Series and Truck Series in Richmond. Till next time, Splash of Gas out.